ride the wave. Quest and dragons, the news we crave. Under neon lights we take a stand. Knights and wizards across the land.
Good morning and welcome. Happy first Friday of November. No shave November, novel November, no sex November, whatever you want to call it, or just the holiday everybody's forgotten about between Halloween and Christmas. Broadcasting live from Site B. It's your boy, the OGGM, coming to you from Fresno, Nevada to talk about the Xmen, the 80s, and Faserip Marvel, the role-playing game. Considered by many to be one of, if not the best superhero role-playing game ever. You have heard me talk nonstop about how much I love this game and how important it is to me and what it did for me at the time, and how I love the Faserip system. So what can I say about it in this that I haven't said 1,000 times before? This is an amazing game, but it's not for everybody. True, like, you know, it's definitely got it's what you would call it. Why can't this work? Anyways, so yeah, you know, it's definitely got people who don't like it. For some reason, my share screen isn't working. There we go. Sorry about that. Something's wrong with the computer. It's been acting really weird. I don't know why. Anyway, so here we go. Here it is, the cover of this game. I've sung its praises 1,000 times before. I love this game. There are those who say that it does DC characters better than Marvel characters, but whatever, have you. You can play one of the many pre-generated characters, or you can randomly generate a character. Most people choose to play a randomly generated character. I don't think I ever played a Marvel game other than maybe at a convention where people were playing their pre-generated characters. It was always about making your own. And if there's any flaw in the Marvel system, that's probably where it is. I mean, I've said as many good things about the system as I can. The Matrix choosing to use words instead of colors. I mean, math, amazing. The Matrix choosing to use colors to represent the quality of the success or failure of your dice rolls. Again, amazing. For my brain, my dyslexia, my level of autism, my level of inability to interact at that time period, this game was like a breath of fresh air. But it is a randomly generated system. A lot of people don't like the randomly generated system. And because of the way the randomly generated system is laid out with the numbers and the words and the everything, it's highly more likely you're going to create a subpar character than a even street level Marvel character. So if there's any flaw in the Faserip random generation system, it's that not only do you randomly generate the powers, you can choose to randomly generate the amount of oomph, the amount of Marvel magic each power has. And when you're ranging from, you know, Hulk-like Galactus level, Xmen level, to Spider-Man level, to Daredevil level, to Punisher level, to Floorbush Man level, to normal guy on the street level, it is more likely that you're going to get a crappy number, crappy rank, whatever you want to call that, than a decent rank. And that can turn around to make the character's powers seem kind of either barely street level, you know, barely Misty Knight, barely Iron Fist level, to just D-list Avengers, Great Lakes joke characters like the Floorbush Man. And sadly, most of the games I played in, and the 90% of the characters came out to be with, you know, these low rank powers where they could do very little. My two most beloved Marvel characters, the ones that I remember, I know I'm sure I made more. Ooh, a comment already. Hey, OG from Technobabble. Good morning, sir. Thanks for joining me. I meant to do this yesterday afternoon, but I had a really bad time at the dentist, and I came home and just crashed from like 1:30 to 7. So I didn't make it to this today. So I'm doing it today before we get to the normal Friday stuff. So as I said, when you're rolling the randomly generated powers and you can write, your worst is feeble all the way up to excellent, amazing, whatever, that 100%. The way the bell curve works, you're more likely to get those subpar powers. So case in point, the first Marvel campaign I ever played, my character, I've talked about it before, the robot that had the 0 level psyche. So it had to be programmed to do things. The other players had to tell my robot what to do. And because one of my robot's only other powers was blending, and it had the highest level of blending a starter character could have. So 90% of the time the robot was in the corner blending in, and everybody forgot about it because they forgot you had to tell the robot to follow. It was like this classic 1950s robot that had to be told, robot, come here, So they'd get to the fight and they'd be like, where's OGGM's character? And I'd be like, I'm still standing in the corner at the base because you didn't tell me to follow you. Because remember, I have no free will. And the rest of the characters were very subpar. We had a guy who was basically a superpowered bartender because he had ice control, but his ice control was so ranked so low, all he could basically do was create ice cubes and regulate the temperature of people's drinks. And, we had a character that was, had vibratory powers, but he very low ranked vibratory powers. And of course, when you're a teenager and vibratory and you're just, a lot of inappropriate sex jokes are made about that character. But all the characters were jokes because the random generation and the random power level of each power ended up with making basically characters that people would hate in the comics because they were just dumb. And most of the adventures we had were comedic because our characters were so subpar. And the same thing in the second and the third Marvel campaign I played in, where the characters were very street level. My character, the Rabid Wombat, had hyper digging and berserk, and I think 1 or 2 other powers. So he would go berserk, but then he would just dig holes. So yeah, if there is a flaw in Faserip Marvel, it is that. It really wasn't until much later when the Ultimate Powers books were released and the random system was house ruled that you could make characters that were more on par with what you would consider a Marvel character, where you had that sweet spot of, Spider-Man. I would say Spider-Man is the most iconic sweet spot Marvel character because you can fit Spider-Man in any scenario and he just works, You can fit him in a low level, street level, Daredevil, Defenders, I fight the Kingpin, and investigate crimes level. Spider-Man works. You can mid power level, the normal power level of Spider-Man's comics where he's fighting some supervillains and everything. And then, of course, the high level Avengers Galactic stuff, and Spider-Man works. So that's the kind of character you'd want to play as a beginning character in Marvel. But instead, if there's any flaw in the Marvel superhero role-playing game system, Faserip version, it's that 9 out of 10 times you're going to be playing subpar characters. What's your powers ability? Well, I can control the temperature of drinks and make ice cubes. I can kind of make the ground slippery. I'm basically a bartender. And what's your power? I blend, and I'm a robot. So I'm strong and really hard to hurt, but you need to tell me what to do because I'm a classic 1950s sci-fi movie robot because I have a psyche of 0. Great character, but I spent 30% of every game standing in the corner because they forgot to tell me to follow them. So yeah, Classic Marvel Faserip is available for free on the website linked down below called the Classic Marvel Project, where they're constantly updating it and constantly working with it. So if you want to get a free copy of this system, which, you've heard me say over and over again, how much I love this system. So I wasn't going to really focus on what I love about the system because you've heard me say it 100 times before. I'd rather focus on the one thing about the system that I don't think works, and that's the randomness. But there's a link down below if you want to get a free copy of this game. Other than that, have a great day. I'm having some computer issues today, as you can see, so I may be back on later or I may not. I hope I haven't ruined this computer already. I only got it in July. But anyways, if you appreciate the content that I create every day, please let me know. If you never want to hear me talk about this topic every day, let me know. Please like, please share, please subscribe. Please consider supporting the OGGM with the holidays coming up. I hate to be a self-shill, but I am a capitalist, and this is my job. So, even a couple dollars to the Ko-Fi, whatever you can do would be greatly appreciated. And if you can't, just the best thing you can do to support me, other than like, share, and subscribe, is to, be a decent person, I guess, and tell them that the OGGM sent you something, something, something. See ya.
Monsters lurking in the night, heroes ready for the fight. Dice are clattering on the wood, storylines misunderstood.